Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to another Precious Metal Ramble. I'm joined by Leo Gantz, who is an industry expert in the world of gold and silver and all things relating to gold and silver as well. And we had a chat early last month in January, and oh boy, a lot has changed in the market, Leo. Can you tell us what on earth is going on with the world of gold and silver?
I think the best way to describe what's happening is we had a first inning of the re-rating of precious metals.
Yes.
You saw that the move with silver was catalyzed by the export restrictions by China.
Yeah.
But in general, it's mostly categorized. If I have to give it a big name, it is because there's a realignment of currency risk in general in the world.
Yeah.
And once the market realized that Trump is proceeding with nominating Kevin Warsh, well before he actually announced it, obviously the market already sensed that that was the direction this was going, and that was a first inning. I say that because silver went to 120, and then gold hit. What was the all-time high for gold? Do you remember?
It was about 5,500, I think, wasn't it? Something
Five
like
and a
that.
half thousand, and that is just the hors d'oeuvre
Yeah.
because the main course is still coming.
I like your analogy that this is the first inning of it, and I was speaking with a lot of people at the World Money Fair about this because the crash happened just as I was there. I bought gold on the day before it crashed, so it was like worst timing ever. But a similar thing, a lot of people there said the correction kind of needed to happen, but the fact that it hasn't gone back down to where we were a year ago, I feel like we've settled at a new bottom, and now we're building up from this new bottom. What are your thoughts on that?
So we are. I agree. It's not just that I agree with you. I feel like people underestimate even within the stacker community because they have this very pessimistic view of how high gold and silver can go because of COMEX manipulation or anything else, or they always feel like there's somebody invisible hand that's gonna repress the prices. So it's almost like a built-in mechanism to defend yourself from corrections and bear markets. But
For sure.
the best way I can describe what's happening is imagine how long have you been driving a car? Since the age of 18 or 17?
25 years.
25 years. Have you ever given a shred of thought to the fact that your brakes are basically one cord connecting you to the
thanks,
tires?
Leo. I have now. that's very scary.
There you go.
But I see where you're going with this analogy. I see where you're going.
I'll give you one. I'll up it one. Just remember, your heart can never stop beating. It has to keep pumping every second while you are up, while you are sleeping, while we are doing this interview. You've never thought of it.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like oxygen. It's part of you. You don't give it a second thought. The dollar is not something that people give a second thought to. Some people go through some sort of a personal trauma or an event, or they go down a rabbit hole. They read something from the Austrian School of Economics, and they think about it in a general sense.
Yeah.
But most portfolios are 60-40. I'm talking about the big money in the world. There's 60 stocks, 40 bonds. And no one has given thought to 25, 25, 25, 25, which is stocks, bonds, cash, real estate, alternatives, gold, etc.
So I was talking about this with a few content creators out in the World Money Fair, and there are, a lot of people are thinking this is the start of the big currency reset. The devaluation of the dollar, the pound, and perhaps it is. But I feel like the reset that will happen, it's just going to be like overnight. People are just going to accept this new norm of whatever they tell us it will be, because the vast majority of people in this world, like you say, they don't appreciate the real stuff, the precious metals that we have. And too many financial institutions and advisors just ignore it. And that worries me as an individual. So is that sort of the point, I guess, that you're making there, that this this sort of almost inability to recognize that this stuff, the thing that I'm holding here, a $5 gold coin from 100+ years ago, that has transported its wealth through time, but actual fiat currency hasn't. That's the scary thing, and people don't get it anymore. It's just not normal anymore, is it?
Yeah, I think you're right that most people will not own precious metals, but uh, retail doesn't move
Yeah.
these markets as much as what's going to happen with governments and institutions. That is the reason that gold is going to hit five figures, probably if not this year, then the following year. We are in a days of destiny time, and I think that the most underappreciated and underreported event is the rethinking from both the United States and China about their currencies. Just entertain me for 2 minutes. I'll explain
No,
what
please
I
go.
mean, because
This is gold dust.
that
Go for it.
yeah, this is the heart, the nucleus of what I'm talking about. Um, this is not a big aha moment from retail. It's not that retail will say, "Well, heck, I'm logging into my Wells Fargo. I see all these dollars. They're all going to evaporate someday." That was 2008. We are not in that kind of moment where people feel that the system is going to go down and you have to hold everything silver. You have to bite it. You have to eat it. Like it's not a peripheral mentality. This is the world's smartest, and I shouldn't say smartest. It's the smart money. It's I don't want to call them the smartest people there, but it's just defined smart money. So it's the big money,
Yeah.
the governments, central bankers, etc. They, especially on China and the United States, are changing course
Yeah.
for the first time since 1993, and I want to explain that. After 2008, the United States was effectively managing its decline as an empire and moving towards becoming just a regular Western nation. For Americans to understand this is, or for you're in England, so for you to understand that is the difference between the British Empire and today's England. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Today's England does not aspire to be a great nation. It wants to just be a liberal Western open society.
We try and pretend with our name, Great Britain, but there's
exactly.
a lot that's not great right now.
Yes, and after 2008, there was a notion in the United States, and you can see it by the fact that they voted for a person that does not believe in capitalism or in the American values, and they voted for him twice in office, and he gave a lot of power to the bureaucrats and to the globalists, etc. Then Americans realized what they've done, and then we're going on the different direction for the past 10 years now. So what happened just recently is that Trump's trade representatives and his economic think tank and the people that are behind him, even during the Biden administration, they started realizing how they want the dollar to behave and what they want the dollar to be. And at the same time, China now realizes that this is inevitable. So now they understand, no, the deep state cannot hold the Trump administration in check. The Trump administration now has the mandate of the people and will continue to do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what China wants is a stronger yuan. That is really where the big difference is. The yuan, since China joined the World Trade Organization, was manipulated down in order to become a much more competitive export currency.
Yeah.
China is now turning itself in. It wants its consumer to enjoy, and therefore it needs a stronger yuan, backed by gold and trusted by the world.
Okay.
That was announced 2 weeks ago. Xi gave an order to the entire CCP apparatus. I want a stronger yuan policy. That is a 180
Okay.
for the world's second largest economy and second largest military. At the same time, what Trump is telling you, with Stefan Myron, who was appointed to the Fed last year, and now with Kevin Warsh, and of course with Scott Bessent, Jameson Greer, at Davos, and everywhere else, we want a weaker dollar, not a dollar that's debased and is not the reserve currency, but just a weaker dollar, which will make our industries more competitive. And that's what you're going to get from the United States. So,
what happens when a dollar gets weaker? Gold and silver gets stronger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's the dollar getting weaker, plus the yuan wants to be backed by more and more dollars.
Yeah.
So you have
It's almost like
trifecta.
it's like a compounding effect that works in gold and silver's favor. We've
Yes.
all heard, I think, and read maybe certainly if you're into following what's really happening on the markets, we've all heard, of course, that the Chinese markets for silver trading way higher premiums than the physical silver over there is just being traded
Yes.
at ridiculous premiums. Is that where you might see the Western world catching up with them at some point, where we really do start to see this the industrial shortage, and will we see a major supply shortage? You're in the know, I think, a lot more than your average stacker would be about that supply chain and how that is. Is that a big factor that's playing in at the moment?
I think there are. You're talking about silver specifically, correct?
Yes, because I think at the moment there is no argument that silver has got more potential for that explosive growth. Gold will always follow, and gold will lead the way in many ways, but I do think there is a lot of potential for silver, and that's where the buzz is right now, isn't it?
The big catalyst for silver, and it is a mind-blowing catalyst. So in other words, if it comes to fruition, silver will go to between 160 to 200. Is the remonetization of silver. Central banks and governments do not hold any silver.
Yeah.
It's not part of the banking system anymore.
No.
It is not part of the Basel tier 1 or tier 3 or any tier.
Yeah.
If any government, it doesn't have to be a big one, remonetizes silver, silver will at least double from here.
Right. Yeah.
So it means it will go to 160 to 200. Because other central banks will obviously want to trade with that silver and do the same.
For sure.
That is one thing that's important. The second thing that's important is because silver's price was artificially down for so many decades, and it found itself into industry where it wasn't before.
Yeah.
It was always the best conductor, but it was just too expensive to be used in industry. And then it was too cheap.
Yeah.
To be even mined as a primary metal.
Yeah.
And became a byproduct. That surge in demand coupled with higher prices is really the second big catalyst for it. So I think those are the biggest upside catalyst for it. The remonetization of it, plus the embeddedness that it is in industry.
Yeah.
And the fact that because it's an industry, it's not like gold, where everything is above ground. You just have to buy it from on the secondary market.
You move it around, yeah.
Because here it's in scraps, it's in recyclable, like.
But on that subject, Leo, at the moment we're seeing, of course, all the refiners out there around the world they don't want scrap. They don't want less than pure silver at the moment because they're just up against such demand. They can't afford the time to refine all of this stuff.
It's probably not economic either at this price. It would have to be higher.
This is true. But
I want to also address what you said about different prices. So where you are, if you go to your local store and you try to buy an orange, and if I try to do the same at my market, and we call each other and we say, hey, how much is it per kilo at your place? And it's not going to be the same.
No.
In the globalized world, you had the commerce as this monopoly, and it was always distorted.
Yeah.
Because you'd always see, hey, the bullion dealer is selling it for X, and I can buy it on Comex for a third of it, or something. In extreme situations. And we are now in a much freer market, and it makes sense because if you're in China, and you don't own any stocks because they don't believe in their own stock market, and most Chinese have 2 apartments, and before they'll have a brokerage account,
Yeah.
they feel different about risk, and they've lived through many things. And when they ask their grandfather about China, he tells them about Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
So they think about silver differently than somebody who lives in the United States and asks his granddad, "Hey, how was the '60s for you?" And he tells, "Oh, the '60s was the best times ever." Okay,
Yeah.
so the risk premium between China, Japan, Dubai, England, and New York City is different, and
Yeah.
I think that actually shows you we are in a freer market where you have an arbitrage between them. And I forgot to say before, but another huge catalyst for silver is if countries like India or China,
Yeah.
specifically, and the United States as well, open up more avenues to invest in silver in your pension fund, in your retirement, etc. That would send demand up in a big way. So
Yeah.
I think all of these is to tell you, I think gold is going to hit 10,000 sooner than most people think.
Yeah.
And I think silver is going to 150 before many people think it will happen. It will be rapid because you have literally the United States government openly looking for a way for the world to stop buying so much dollars
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
It wants its currency to be more competitive.
It's fascinating. So I've heard and seen quite a few people comment, and a few content creators even hypothesize that silver, the ratio between gold and silver, could fall even further. Now, if you're saying, in theory, gold is going to get to 5 figures, $10,000 an ounce, if we maintain
and higher.
and higher, no, I don't doubt it. If we maintain the current approximate ratio of 50-1, that would put silver around $200.
Yeah.
Do you see that ratio coming down further? There's a lot of people that say, of course, it doesn't come out the ground at that ratio. A lot of that is the paper market driving that ratio up. Do you think we've seen that ratio high right now, or is there more room for it?
The ratio will close if governments remonetize silver. If they don't remonetize silver, it will stay much more elevated.
Yeah.
Because of industrial demand.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. And honestly, Leo, so if you had to give a percentage probability, what do you reckon the chance?
Is silver 200 not enough for you?
No. I mean, what's the chance of it being used, remonetized? Beg your pardon. What do you think? What would you give it as a chance?
Look, if you were, what do you call them? If you were an alien,
Yeah.
and you were researching planet Earth, and somebody told you that since they originally found silver in the ground, it was always used as money, except when one guy decided to temporarily close that in 1971, and for 50 years out of thousands of years of humanity, it wasn't used as money.
Yeah.
Then I would say I would give it a 99.9% chance that humanity remonetizes it.
Okay.
So
interesting.
To me, fiat currencies are a fantasy.
Well, we know they all go to zero, and so this is my big concern that we are seeing the devaluation of our currency in real time. I think at the moment, like you said earlier in the video, that silver has been too cheap for too long. I think you're right on that. For a long time, it felt like silver was too cheap, and when we see ratios of over 120-1 for silver to gold, that for me was a clear indication it was time to buy as much silver as you possibly can. And now with the silver ratio being around 50-1, a lot of people are now looking at even maybe selling out their silver and changing it into gold, because unless what you've just said happens, that ratio is going to start extending again. So it will be a very interesting and trying time, I think, going forwards. But I think what we can all agree is that the currencies that we use, the pounds, the dollars, the yuan, the euros, and all of the other currencies around the world, they will eventually go to zero. I'm worried that when they do go to zero, we're just going to get a replacement with a digital currency. So where do you see silver fitting in that world if the big powers just go, do you know what? The dollar's going to fail. We know it's going to fail. Let's just start with a soft change now and introduce CBDC and get people working on that.
I think that at least in the United States, I think the tables have turned, and I think that the U.S. is back, and the U.S. is about freedom
Yeah.
at its core, and it's about sovereignty for the individual. And I don't think they will introduce any sort of currency that
Can restrict that sovereignty and that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now Europe is a different thing.
Yeah.
You guys are
We're our
what do you
own.
call
We're
it?
our own entity, aren't we?
You're
It's
you're
yeah.
you're toying with disaster over there.
I think I agree.
But I do think that look, we lived in a world of uh, diminishing liberty for Westerners for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And I think that November 5th, 2024 was the bottom for that nightmare. And we're back.
Okay.
And so the United States is also just like globalization infiltrated Harvard and Yale and your media in America and your BBC, etc. In sort of the same way, conservative values will now infiltrate back to Europe, and you start seeing people learning about conservatism, sound money, a government that works for the people. You'll start learning about history, how and how this miracle called the United States came to be, and how the Western world defeated communism and fascism, and because people now they don't even know what that means. They call Donald Trump a fascist, or they have a no King's Day for Donald Trump, like a guy that was cheated out of victory in 2020, etc. So my point is that the Western world has reached a bottom, and now it's coming back. Now, will all countries that used to be called the West come back? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think what we as individuals, I mean, we can see if you've been buying gold and silver for a while and you've been consuming gold and silver as a investment vehicle for a while, I think you'll get it now. It's certainly proven a lot of people right. You know, there's a lot of people out there.
Exactly.
The vast majority, and because it's a male-orientated kind of hobby / investment, isn't it? Let's be quite frank.
Sure.
But there's a lot of men out there that have turned to their wife and gone, you know what? Doubled our money last year,
Yeah.
and tripled my money in 3 years, and they'll be like having this validation moment. They've been proven right in a way, and I think the more that gets out there, the more that people realise that actually,
the more the rubber meets the road.
Exactly, there's more value here than just pounds, pennies, and pence against the value of your gold. There's more long-term value. I know, as an intermediary kind of buyer and seller of precious metals myself, as a business, the amount of people out there wanting to buy dwarfs by magnitudes of 100 the amount of people wanting to sell right now. I've never had as many inquiries of people wanting to buy stuff, and that I think speaks volumes, and it's certainly changing the landscape that we're in for the world of gold and silver, and that's quite exciting. But also, you've got to put yourself back down, I think, on planet Earth and realise that why that is because there's a lot of problems in the world, a lot of problems in money, and that's also quite scary. But having this stuff does make me feel certainly a little bit more secure in the finances and everything. So, yeah, pretty crazy world. So you put some bold predictions there, Leo. 5-figure gold this year or next year, you reckon?
I do.
Okay. How about the short term? Where do we see? Have we hit the bottom of this dip?
Yeah, we probably if we haven't, then we'll test it again. But we're probably close to it.
Fantastic. Well, it'll be an interesting couple of months ahead to see where things are going. And I would love to maybe catch up with you again in a couple of months' time to see where things are and if we have anywhere near closer to that 5-figure gold mark. And if it's okay with you, I'd love to get some comments down in the comment section of this video of anybody who wants to put questions to Lior in perhaps our next catch-up that we have with him, just to find out where the community's sense is on this ever-changing market. I think that would be really interesting to get some community questions for you the next time we sit down and have a chat.
Sure thing.
Have you got any last parting words and sentiments to share with our audience before we call this video for the day?
No, I invite everybody to read our newsletter, wealthresearchgroup.com, every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday free.
There'll be links down in the description and comment section for that. It's well worth it. I've been subscribed to it for a long time, and I get a lot of good value from it. And
thank you.
It's just nice to have lots of differing opinions on the world gold and silver, and I think that's really important. And we've said a lot in this video. I think it's also important that we also caveat that we can't predict the future, and whilst we would love to see 5-figure gold coming up, it's important to remember that the markets ever change. So it is important to get as much opinion and broaden your horizons is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So, and Leo's newsletter is a great way to help with that. So I think that's about it for us then, Leo. What I always do at the back end of the video is I always ask the people who've watched all the way through, who I call my cool kids, to quote me a little phrase. And I think it would be remiss of me not to say $10,000 an ounce gold, here we go. That's our phrase for Secret Cool Kids Club of the Backyard Bullion viewership. Thank you then, Leo. And until next time, have a great week and month ahead, and we'll speak to you soon.